All
And
right. Good morning. Here we
good
are.
morning.
Are we at 12?
Yeah, we're on episode 12
Episode 12.
of,
Okay,
of
here we are.
our wheel of topics around how
Yeah.
do we sustain creativity.
hmm
Um, I mean, we were just chatting before we got on,
Yeah.
like how do we sustain creativity when we're changing in just our timeline of life, right? We're getting
Yeah.
a little older, mid-40s, things are changing. And where's that momentum? Like, we aren't 30 anymore. And bless you all who are 30 and younger, like you have more energy. And how do we tap into that on a regular basis?
Yeah. And honor it. Like it's so, I'm finding myself getting a little caught up in I used to be able to just do this so easily. And things
Right?
are just not, they're just, my capacity is different. Um,
Yeah.
oh,
Sorry.
you're spinning.
I
Okay.
spun it without even realizing what I was doing. And I'm okay. We'll just, I'm not going to show the screen on it, but the word is I'll say it in a second. The word is compassion. Compassion.
Oh, well, that seems very
Interesting.
appropriate for today.
Yeah.
Because it like totally taps in with what we were just talking about, which is I was saying I'm feeling like I got hit by a truck. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm just feeling pretty wiped out because we had a little busy day off island yesterday, and I'm just a little surprised at how tired I am from it. And it's easy to go into that place where I'm like, no, you got to just keep moving.
Something's wrong with you, right? And that's
Yeah.
where I'm sitting too, as we were sharing our experiences, just having softball again in our life on evenings 3 nights a week, and just that takes more energy out than I was aware of before. And now this awareness,
Yeah.
I mean, I think you're tapping into that as well, is like, oh, where is the compassion where the energy got expended, and how do we restore it back? And rest is a needed thing. A recharging
Yeah.
is needed.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think for me, compassion really is a pretty key piece here in this sort of mechanism and habit and conversation around restoring creativity or restoring energy, so I actually have like I have something to draw from
Mhm.
creatively. Because it's easy for me to get really hard on myself or to push, and it's been like many years of working on sort of unraveling that, and compassion for myself is like the key, because barking at other people, my family in particular,
Right?
and I'm not compassionate is a really good sign that I am pushing myself way too hard, and then I start to sort of externalize it. Anyways, so
Oh,
like compassion for myself. Oh, I'm having a depleted day, or I'm having a little bit of an emotional day. I'm feeling pretty tired. And so how
and
can I
honoring that.
move through this day? Yeah, and how can I move through this day honoring that with compassion and understanding,
Mhm.
knowing that tomorrow will be different again.
Right. Yeah, like today I feel a little bit more energetic, but yesterday was a
Yeah,
very quiet day at home.
yeah.
And the doubt still cropped up. Like I didn't put those pieces together until we started talking, like, oh, well, it makes sense. I mean, there's a couple things going on here. And
Mhm.
where can we invite others to have compassion about where they're at in any given moment, rather than
Mhm.
beating ourselves
Yeah,
up over
yeah.
I'm not getting all this stuff done. There's that energy around I've got to check all this stuff on my to-do list to be successful. And
Oh,
what we're
yeah.
inviting in instead is like awareness, like, well, what could be going on? And you're not a bad person. You're just like, you've got life happening, and it's
Mhm.
okay to rest and restore.
Value doesn't depend on your productivity.
No, it doesn't. That's just like, that's the tagline right there. Your value doesn't depend on your productivity.
Yeah.
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 Hmm.
Yeah, that's been a been working on that one for. I mean, I feel like I'm there really solidly, but Boy, that was a long-term process to kind
Mhm.
of to embody that,
Yeah.
you know?
Well, and how hard is it to
Yeah.
hear, Maori, you're good enough?
Hmm. Well, what a relief to hear.
Right? We don't need to
Fuck.
keep improving ourselves. Like, you're good enough right now. You're
Yeah.
perfect as you are.
Yeah. Yeah. It's an interesting one, isn't it? Like for me, especially the holding the paradox of you are inherently always already good enough.
Mm,
And I love working on things and learning new things, but not if they're not rooted in that sort of core belief or that core knowing of you are already good enough.
mhm.
um, then that growth, expansion, learning can really easily become sort of a way of grasping for self-worth.
Yeah, the word crunchy just came up for me. It's like when
Mm,
we're looking to grab more gold stars to say like, hey, look at me, what this is what I'm doing and accomplishing. I get sucked into this a lot.
mm,
Might sign up for something so that I can get accolades from external sources like, oh my
mm,
gosh, I'm doing all of this. And what that's doing is it's perpetuating a cycle of like doing it for others rather than doing
mm,
it for myself,
mm,
and that's not sustainable. So
mm,
I'm starting to shift that dialogue into like, what do I need?
mm,
What do I want?
mm.
Um, and we're inviting others into that conversation as well. What
Yeah,
what do each one of us need to sustain our energy? And when we have sustained energy, we have more creativity. When we're more creative, we have a more fulfilling life. Like those,
yeah,
they're all lined up, right?
yeah,
So that's what we're inviting in is just unplug, recharge, rest,
yeah. Oh,
permission, compassion.
yeah, and self-compassion is really what's like popping up for me as like the sort of the first step in all of it,
Mhm.
or a really foundational piece. Kristen Neff does some really beautiful work on that.
Mm.
She's a researcher, psychologist, I think. Um, yeah, and I like I have a pretty extensive sort of Buddhist influence background as well, and I love how so much of this work touches on pieces from Buddhism that
Mhm.
um, that I personally find really enriching to sort of bring in um, as these different areas to look and explore of like how can we make our foundation even more solid.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Well, as you even say solid, it's solid with a softness
yeah,
wrapped up around it.
yeah.
It's like solid ground and
Hmm.
then building a cocoon of softness around it, of compassion.
Mm. Yeah, it's like yeah, it's held in like open hands,
Mhm. Yeah.
like sand in open hands.
I like that.
When you grasp it, it like it streams out through the
Mhm.
fingers, but when we can hold our hands, like for me, this is like the embodiment of trust, which is what
It is, yeah.
like compassion also connects to a lot. It's all sort of the same soup.
Trusting self and trusting others and
Hmm.
having compassion when things don't go quite what we expect it to go.
Yeah, and how can compassion sort of and compassion for others and self-compassion,
Mhm.
um how can that nourish you on a really deep level? And like I want to throw that inquiry out, like um where all how can that nourish you and support you?
How can self-compassion nourish you today?
Hmm.
So just sit with that question and just
Hmm.
ask yourself, are you beating yourself up? Or are you giving yourself massive love and compassion today?
Yeah, and sometimes these things are subtle, right? They're not always like super overt. Actually, I would say a lot of the time they're not overt. They're pretty sort of hidden in the quiet ways that we talk to ourselves, or in the sort of background ways. So we'll inquiry into there. Like, what's the narrative there? Well,
Yeah.
what's the energy?
Energy and conversations with others around this. These are
Mhm,
different types of conversations you and I are
mhm,
having, and we're inviting others into
mhm,
in Italy. Is let's explore this. And it's uncomfortable for most people because we have very superficial conversations. Um, and we're inviting a deeper, richer, connected conversation,
mhm.
because that's when we start unraveling and unpeeling and actually living a more authentic and interesting life. Like
Mm.
there's a little more sparkle to it.
Yeah, alive is what
Yeah,
comes
there you
to
go.
mind
Yeah.
for me. Yeah, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Right. So come join. Yeah, it feels like, yeah, deep sigh, just like, and that's where I'm at, is like just this invitation. Come join us.
Yeah.
We have a Q&A call April 12th,
Mhm.
4:30 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time, for our creation vacation, where we're inviting others so that we can have more enriching, alive conversations
Mhm.
and bringing in lots of compassion for what we're up to in the world.
Yeah.
Come join us.
Can't wait to see you there.
That's right. Okay. Bye.
Bye, everyone.